Are you having fun, my love? Archie! Yes, I think you can. Let's go.
A mother in a garden with her children laughing. Let's talk about what she actually posted, because context matters, and also because some people clearly watched it with their eyes closed and their bias fully activated. The caption? Mama's Little Helpers. Short, simple, no essay, no over-explaining, no defensive justification, just a vibe, a feeling, a moment captured in 4 words. And then the visuals themselves. First image? Sunlight pouring in like it personally RSVP'd to this exact moment. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, standing at an outdoor table arranging flowers. Soft whites, greens, natural textures. The whole aesthetic feels like one of those slow living fantasies people claim they want on Pinterest, but with actual life happening inside it. This isn't stiff, overly curated perfection where everything is precisely placed and nothing is out of alignment. It's intentional, yes, clearly thought about, clearly designed, but breathable, livable, real. And then you notice Lilibet. Not front and center demanding attention, not posed perfectly for the camera, not turned into a prop or accessory for the aesthetic. She's just there, tucked underneath the table area in that lower shelf space, existing in the moment like children naturally do, quietly, completely unbothered by the idea of content creation happening around her. That single detail, it changes everything about how you read the entire image. Because suddenly, this isn't a staged photo shoot where everyone is positioned and told what to do. It's a moment that happens to be beautiful. A moment that would have happened whether cameras were present or not. Lilibet found her spot. She's comfortable. She's part of the scene without being the focus of it. That's how children actually exist in their homes, in their spaces, when they're genuinely comfortable. Now, the second image hits, and the energy shifts noticeably. We move from aesthetic calm and composition to emotional connection and interaction. Meghan is pouring water into a vase, smiling at Lilibet, and I need people to really understand this part, to really look at this. This is not a camera smile. You know the one I'm talking about, the I am aware I am being perceived and photographed smile, the performance smile. This one feels fundamentally different, softer, warmer, more spontaneous, like she's reacting to something Lily did or said, not performing for an audience. And Lily, her back is turned to the camera, which ironically makes the moment feel even more intimate and authentic. You're not being invited into the scene as a participant. You're just witnessing it from a respectful distance. You're observing, not intruding. The flowers frame them both naturally. The garden grounds the moment in place and time. And suddenly, the entire image feels less like a photo shoot for a brand and more like a memory someone accidentally captured at the perfect moment. But then, the video. And this is where things go from nice aesthetic content to, oh, this is why certain people are pressed. Because now, you're not just looking at still frozen moments that can be analyzed frame by frame. You're watching dynamics. You're watching real-time interaction. You're hearing voices and laughter. Archie is there, helping Meghan arrange flowers, completely engaged, genuinely curious, present in the activity. She asks him warmly, "Are you having fun?" It's such a normal mom question, such a genuine check-in with your kid during an activity to make sure they're enjoying it. And his response? He calls her, says something we can't quite make out. And Meghan laughs, genuinely laughs. Not politely, not performatively for cameras, not that controlled public figure laugh. It's that real, unfiltered, spontaneous laugh that only happens when you're fully in the moment and not thinking about who's watching or how you're being perceived. And then, because toddlers run the universe and operate on their own timeline, Lilibet enters the scene, like she's got an urgent whisper to deliver. She leans in close, says something directly into Megan's ear. We don't hear what she says. The audio doesn't pick it up. We're not meant to hear it. We don't need to hear it to understand the moment. Megan listens, responds simply, yes, you can. Permission granted, request approved. Whatever Lily needed or wanted in that moment, yes. And just like that, the scene shifts again. They go with Lily off camera to do whatever she asked about. End of clip. No grand finale, no dramatic conclusion, no perfectly wrapped ending. Just life continuing beyond the frame. Just a moment that ends because the next moment is starting. Now, here's where things get interesting from an analysis perspective. Because on the surface, this content is incredibly simple. A mom, her kids, flowers, a garden, a beautiful day. But if it were truly that simple, that meaningless, that unremarkable, it wouldn't have people spiraling and analyzing and debating. What Megan did here, whether intentionally strategic or instinctively natural, is something incredibly powerful that often gets overlooked. She showed presence, not performance, not defense, not explanation or justification, presence. And that quietly, subtly dismantles years of carefully constructed narratives built around her. Because for so long, years now, certain voices, certain commentators, certain media outlets have tried desperately to paint her as cold, calculated, disconnected from reality, manipulative. But moments like this, they don't argue against those narratives directly. They don't clap back. They don't issue statements. They just contradict, effortlessly, silently, through simply existing. And let's talk about the reaction for a second, because the divide is fascinating and extremely predictable. You've got people looking at this exact same content and having completely opposite reactions. It's staged, it's PR, it's calculated, it's performative, she's using her kids for attention. And it's genuinely fascinating when you think about it critically. Because here's the question nobody criticizing wants to answer honestly. If a woman they liked, a celebrity they support, an influencer they follow, posted this exact same content with the exact same aesthetic and the exact same kids helping mom vibe, would it still be called staged? Or would it be beautiful, relatable, authentic, goals? Exactly. We all know the answer. The truth is, Megan exists in a space where even the most normal, universal human moments get analyzed like they're part of some elaborate master strategy or manipulation campaign. And ironically, that reveals more about the people analyzing her than it does about her actual intentions or character. Because imagine watching a small child whisper something to their mom, a completely normal thing children do constantly, and your first instinct, your immediate thought, is suspicion and criticism. That's not analysis. That's not media literacy. That's not critical thinking. That's projection. That's bringing your own biases and predetermined conclusions to neutral content. When you see manipulation in a child whispering to their mother, the problem isn't the content. The problem is what you're bringing to it. And that's where so much commentary about Megan lives, in this space of predetermined narratives looking for evidence to confirm themselves rather than objectively looking at what's actually there. Now let's talk strategy, because even if this content feels natural and unforced, there's something very smart happening here from a branding perspective. As Ever isn't being aggressively marketed yet. There's no loud, buy this product, no forced messaging, no hard sell. Instead, it's being woven into her life organically, into moments that feel real and lived in rather than manufactured. Flowers, calm, intention, beauty, family, presence. She's not selling a product directly, she's selling a feeling. She's creating an emotional association. And people dramatically underestimate how powerful that approach is. Because anyone with money can launch a brand, anyone can hire designers and create products and put them on shelves. Not everyone can make people feel something when they see their brand. Not everyone can create genuine emotional connection. This makes people pause. It makes them imagine themselves in that space, in that moment. It creates desire not through aggressive marketing, but through aspirational lifestyle. And once that emotional connection is established, once people associate your brand with a feeling they want in their own lives, the rest follows naturally. They want that calm. They want that beauty. They want that presence with their own children. They want that intentional living. And whatever as ever ends up being, whether it's products or content or experiences, it's already building that emotional foundation. That's sophisticated marketing that doesn't feel like marketing. That's brand building that works because it doesn't feel forced. But beyond branding strategy, beyond aesthetics, beyond internet reactions and debates, there's something else at the center of this content that matters: motherhood. And not the glossy, unrealistic, perfectly filtered version that dominates social media. The real one, the complicated one, the beautiful mess. The one where your kids interrupt you mid-task constantly. Where a whispered request can completely change your plan for the next 5 minutes. Where laughter isn't scheduled or planned, it just happens in response to something delightful your child did. Where you're trying to work on a project and your children are right there with you, because that's the reality of being a present parent. Megan isn't presenting herself as a perfect mother who has everything figured out. She's presenting herself as a present mother who's in the moment with her children. And in a world where everything is optimized, filtered, curated to the point of exhaustion and impossibility, that hits differently. That resonates. Now let's address the elephant in the room directly. Why does this kind of content bother some people so intensely? It's not really about the content itself. It's not about flowers or gardens or children helping. It's about control. It's about narrative control. For years now, narratives about Megan have been built, repeated endlessly, reinforced through multiple channels. And those narratives rely fundamentally on distance. They rely on her being an idea, a character, a figure to analyze, not a real person. They rely on her being villainized or criticized without that pesky human dimension getting in the way. But moments like this, they collapse that distance completely. They humanize her in a way that's extremely hard to argue against without sounding unreasonable. Because you can critique public statements, you can spin headlines, you can debate decisions. But a genuine laugh? A child's whisper? A simple yes you can to a toddler's request? Those things are much harder to twist into something negative without looking, well, a little unhinged. And here's the part that really makes this a quiet flex, a subtle power move. She didn't address critics directly. She didn't respond to negativity. She didn't even acknowledge it exists. She just lived and shared a glimpse of that life on her own terms. That kind of confidence, it's subtle, it's not loud or aggressive, but it's incredibly powerful. Because it says, without saying, I don't need to fight every narrative about me. I don't need to respond to every criticism. I'll just exist authentically and let reality do the work of contradicting false narratives. That's a level of security and confidence that actually bothers critics more than any direct response ever could. Because you can't fight someone who isn't fighting back. You can't claim victory over someone who isn't engaging in the battle you're trying to create. At the end of the day, this wasn't just a cute post about kids helping mom with flowers. It was a reminder, subtle but important, that behind all the headlines, all the commentary, all the analysis, all the manufactured controversy and debate, there's a real life happening. A mother raising her children with intention and presence. Moments unfolding naturally without scripts or staging. Joy showing up in small, unplanned ways that can't be manufactured. Work and family integrating rather than existing in separate compartments. And maybe that's exactly why it resonates so strongly with so many people while bothering others. Because for all the analysis, all the debate, all the overthinking and scrutinizing and projecting, this was fundamentally simple. A beautiful moment shared. Nothing more, nothing less. But I already know how this goes. I can predict it with absolute certainty. Half the internet is going to melt over how sweet and genuine this content felt. They'll talk about how beautiful the aesthetic is, how adorable the children are, how present and warm Meghan seems as a mother. The other half is going to grab metaphorical magnifying glasses and try to find something, anything to complain about or criticize. The lighting was too perfect, the flowers were too expensive, the caption was too short or too long, she's exploiting her children, she's being fake, she's trying too hard, she's not trying hard enough. The criticism will come regardless of the actual content, because for certain people, everything Meghan does is wrong by predetermined conclusion. And meanwhile, Meghan's just going to keep doing what she's been doing consistently. Living, creating, mothering, building, working, existing, unbothered by the noise, focused on what actually matters. And honestly, that unbothered existence, that refusal to engage with manufactured drama, that simple presence, that might be the most disruptive thing of all. Because it breaks the cycle. It refuses to participate in the game that thrives on response and reaction. It just exists, beautifully, intentionally, authentically. And no amount of criticism or analysis or magnifying glass scrutiny can change the fundamental truth visible in that content. A mother laughing with her children. A family moment shared. Joy captured. That's real. That's human. That's universal. And sometimes the most powerful response to years of narrative manipulation is simply showing up as yourself and letting that speak louder than any statement ever could. So yes, Meghan posted Mama's Little Helpers content, showing her arranging flowers with Archie and Lilibet. And yes, it was beautiful and genuine and warm. And yes, some people will find ways to criticize it because that's what they do, but the content speaks for itself to anyone watching without predetermined bias. Presence over performance. Reality over narrative, moments over manufactured perfection. That's what this was. That's what it showed. And that quiet, simple authenticity, that's more disruptive to false narratives than any clapback or statement could ever be. Thanks for watching. If you appreciated this analysis, smash that like button and subscribe for more thoughtful Sussex content. Until next time, stay present, stay authentic, and keep seeing through the manufactured noise. I'll see you in the next one.